Haven't seen her for so many years, so happily distracted. Anyway, I've got 3 slides today, so I do not know at what level you all would know or want to know about this particular topic. Essentially, it's about the route to become a professional engineer, right? So it's divided into 3 sets of slides. So if it's something that's something that you know already, I will just go through it very fast, right? Because there's, I think overall, if you said 3 sets of slides, that will be about almost 100, which is quite long, right? So I will just, because I'm not sure at what depth you all want to know about it, because there's quite a few things actually involved. It looks simple, but actually details, there are a lot of things to go through. Alright, I'm not trying to scare you. In principle, it's quite simple. Alright, but like everything else, once you go into details, you've got to know a bit more. So anyway, this is the first set of slides. I call it from graduates to professionals. Basically, the reason why I'm using this topic is this one is quite often I do it in the universities because a lot of people don't even know why they want to be a registered professional engineer. I think a lot of people don't understand the concept. So what I'm trying to do in this first set of slides is actually to convince you all that there is a value, that it is useful to go through a process that takes you to be registered as a professional engineer. So anyway, this is a little bit about me. My name is, written there is Meng, and currently I'm the Executive Director of Institution Engineers, which means I run the institution. I'm a staff there. And Unit 10 has kindly appointed me as an adjunct professor, so I give talks there occasionally. And I'm an electronics engineer, I think like most of you. I did my degree in Western Australia, and I've got an MBA, and I'm registered with the board. And I'm a corporate member of IEM. So a little bit about me, so that you know where I'm coming from. I started my life in RTM. I did most things there. Then I left after about 10 years to do commercial sector, still very much in the broadcasting area. But of course I ventured a little bit into audio-visual systems. I did some consumer electronics and industrial electronics. That took me another 20 years, and then I decided to go into IEM, where I was appointed Executive Director. Altogether it's only about 6 years. Because over the last 10 years, I wasn't there all the time. I was there for a couple of years, I left for a couple of years, joined back for another few years, left for another few years. And actually, I am very environmentally friendly because I've been recycled 3 times. So today's, this particular set of slides, that's why I said, I want to give you some idea why engineering is a regulated profession, how is it regulated, and who are the people doing it. Alright, I hope to give you some motivation as to why you need to be registered. Oh, what questions to start with? I guess all of you are electronic engineers? No?
Electrical.
Electrical, well, similar.
Civil.
But usually when you're electrical, you could have majored in electronics and communications as well. Or even if you didn't, the fact that you're working in MCMC means you're already in telecommunication. Yeah. Alright? So it's not a big issue. Because the degree title actually is a little bit confusing between electrical and electronics. Not really, it just depends. In fact, most universities, let's say in United States, they don't have a degree in electronics. All of them are electrical engineers. Right? In the United States in particular. In fact, most universities is electrical, except maybe in Malaysia. Even Malaysia, not many universities distinguish between the two. It's more like a major, whether you major in power or you major in communications. Any IT people here? Oh, hi. Huh? Oh, a couple of you. Good. Registration engineers, one thing, they're very particular about your degree. So if you don't have a degree in engineering, you can't get registered as an engineer. But you can top up. Why is it like that? Why is it so misunderstood? Okay, how many of you know there's a Registration of Engineers Act? Oh, all of you know. Okay, fine, then no need to explain. So, why regulate engineering? So, basically, this is the...
Computer science thing, are they considered engineers?
No. If you got a computer science, if you got your degree in IT, they don't recognize you in engineering.
But they call you the software engineers.
I know one person who cannot be registered as an engineer with a degree in software engineering, which I personally think is wrong. I personally think it's wrong, but I'm not the board, I'm not the regulator. They don't recognize software engineering as an engineering, which I find it a little bit funny. Alex,
he has an electrical degree, bro.
he has to do a second degree,
Yes.
which is a bit yeah, so that's why I say I know one person who couldn't get registered because his degree was in software engineering.
In Malaysia?
In Malaysia. I personally think you should, because to me software engineering is actually a very important part of engineering. But current regulations by the Board of Engineers says no, people don't register software engineers. But that can change, alright? Having said that, they do update these kind of things very often. But right now, as far as I know...
Computer science is different, but software engineering does engineering.
I'm not sure, maybe Alex's degree is in computer science, I'm not sure. What's the actual work?
No, software engineering is not accepted in like BEM and but other
Even though the title is
yes.
called
We
engineering.
even have financial engineering. We even have that.
Okay. But yeah, that's the current status. Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
So
We
look
got,
at the subject.
Yes.
yes, in principle, and actually, frankly, if you ask me personally, software engineering, as I said, is a very important type of engineering today. Alright, but why BM does not recognize it is, I don't know, maybe they're a bit slow in trying to respond to the current trend. But then they might change because all these things are constantly reviewed and they will update it when they find that there is new evidence to change certain things. Right? So bear with us first for a while. Okay? Right, but anyway, one of the main things is I think engineering, a lot of engineering deals with these 4 items, which is safety and health. Of course, safety and health is very prominent in things like construction, right? So, number 2, of course, is environment, which you guys are also involved because we want engineers who are people who are trained, all right, who understand that engineers have the biggest impact on the environment. In fact, environmental effects are all the result of the work of engineers. I don't know whether you realize it or not. Right? Whether it's pollution, whether it's carbon emission, whether it is e-waste, it's all the work of engineers. So that's why engineers, alright, engineering involves environment a lot. We are the people who created it, should be the people who should be responsible for it. Security particularly, I think you guys are fully aware of this. This is something which the construction people won't be so aware of, but certainly for I think people in MCMC, I think one of the prime, I think responsibilities here is cyber security, if I'm not wrong, right? You all deal a lot with that, and of course, yeah, the last point is about your expert knowledge and influence. All right, because engineers has got a certain knowledge in a certain field, and you normally hold certain positions which entitle you to be very influential in a lot of decisions which affect the country, which affect the company, which affect the community. Right? So a lot of people don't realize that as what Superman says, with great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, sorry. I'm trying to fool you, I'm not that young.
Wrong hero.
Wrong hero. Yeah, power comes responsibility. So some of these things are, just to remind you, these are the work of engineers. Deepwater Horizon, there's a movie. Anybody saw that movie?
Yes.
Yeah. It was an engineering mistake by an engineer who was not very responsible and who was really incompetent, because I did read the actual history. Of course, the movie exaggerates a bit, but generally it's basically true. Alright? So, and that caused a huge environmental disaster, no? Right? Environment, it caused a few deaths, and it caused the company to suffer so much so that BP, I think now becomes, they lost billions and billions of dollars because of this. Because they have to pay compensation, they have got to pay for everything, to clean up everything, and their reputation really suffered. So this is what engineers get involved with. Lesser drastic ones, we've got some examples. The Tilbury Power Station in the UK is the biggest biomass generator in the world, and they had a fire. Engineering, well, but of course no disaster came out. Collapse of roads and bridges, very common. I mean, this is one example I picked out from the United States, but it happens everywhere, including Malaysia. A lot of people may not know Toyota may be the biggest car manufacturer in the world, but they have had a lot of problems with their engineering, and may not occur to you, but a lot of them are engineering problems. Actually, they had more than one, which caused quite a few deaths around. I think the most prominent one, they had the accelerator failure, right? In fact, I often like to show that video. I got nothing against Toyota, but you know, it was very sad. You know, there was one video where they actually took a clip of a family in a car where the accelerator actually jammed, and the actual car just shot and the whole family was killed. And it was all captured on video because they had a passenger who actually was recording it. And the passenger also died, but they managed to retrieve the video. And basically it was an engineering problem. It was a design problem. We didn't hear so much about it here, but it was a very big case in the United States. And in fact, Toyota had another one. Alright? So that's what we are involved in. I mean, as engineers, safety issues. Even the Dreamliner, this was not very drastic, no major disasters, but on the very first maiden flight in Nippon Airways, their battery failed. So it does happen. And this is something which you also are familiar with, safe health and safety at work. So as engineers, we also supervise a lot of work which involves a lot of health and safety issues, right? On the right side, of course, we've got construction people, we've got shipbuilding, we've got high tension lines, and I don't think your telecommunication towers is any less hazardous. There's a fair amount of danger there, all right? Electromagnetic waves are also very dangerous if you don't use it properly. Pollution in this environment, I don't need to explain. I think you know all this means: water pollution, air pollution, nuclear. Shall I talk about Linas? Better not. I've been recorded. Hazardous waste. Yeah. This is something you all know very well. And actually, at one time, I think we all wanted to institute a registration for IT professionals. Am I correct? It's under MCMC?
I think it's different.
CCIC is MCMC.
Picom.
PICOM. No, PICOM objected to it. PICOM objected to it. There was a move actually a few years back, so I'm quite sure it happened. They wanted that every IT professionals to work on, I think they call it any IT systems of certain types of IT systems. I can't recall the details. But eventually when you interpret it, it could mean virtually all the major players like banks and insurance companies and airlines, everything will have to be a registered IT professional. I can't remember which body was done. Obviously, it doesn't sound like MCMC. I don't know which authority wanted to do that. Yeah. Cyber security. I do not know. All right, but there was one recently.
I think it's MDEC.
MDEC. Oh, maybe it could be MDEC. And of course, this last part is most engineers are professionals. They get involved in a lot of projects, right? And all these projects, they are contributing their expert knowledge, and people do take the recommendation and the advice of engineers on engineering projects, and therefore engineers are in a position of great power, so to say, which means it comes with great responsibility. I don't watch Spider-Man, but I seem to be quoting him very often. Peter Parker, is it?
Yeah.
That's much. So most of us are familiar with doctors and lawyers and accountants as profession, but a lot of people don't think that engineers are profession. We are, and in a lot of legal documents, there is a definition of profession, and certainly engineers are one of them. And this is actually taken up from the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, and they have defined profession as people who adhere to high ethical standards, uphold themselves to, and are accepted by the public as possessing special knowledge and skills in a widely recognized, organized body of learning derived from education and training, and who are prepared to exercise this knowledge and those skills in the interest of others. So there's a lot of altruistic expectation from professions, which includes engineers. Alright, so this is what I've said before, and because of that, there is the need to register these engineers so that we do not want anybody who is not properly qualified, who are probably not an engineer, to call themselves an engineer. Alright, because the consequences can be quite drastic. So how is the engineering profession regulated, having said that? So we do have in Malaysia an act called the Registration of Engineers Act, and that covers how the profession is being regulated. And this is in principle the purpose of the Registration of Engineers Act. One, I think I mentioned to you, to protect the public on safety and health. Of course, it also sets up a regulatory body, which is the Board of Engineers. Alright, Lembaga Jurutera Malaysia is a body set up under the Registration of Engineers Act. So it is a government agency tasked with regulating engineers. Alright, and of course the third thing is, under the Board of Engineers, they will set regulations pertaining to the practice of engineering, qualifications for licensing, and the Code of Professional Conduct. And of course the last one is more general, is about maintaining public confidence, because the Board of Engineers, their primary function, as I said, is not to protect engineers, is to protect the public from the engineers. So we are always getting a lot of problems with them, because we are not protecting you, we don't care about you, but we care about the public. No, honestly, that is their unofficial stand as how they. So they always say that the PM protects the public and IEM protects the engineers. Actually, there's some truth in that, quite a bit of truth in that statement. So, why? So, just another little note to tell you why we want to be registered is, from the company's point of view, or from an organizational point of view, as I mentioned, we want to make sure that the engineer is a proper engineer, properly trained, properly accredited, because they hold a lot of power and influence. That is important. Of course, the most obvious is, if you get an engineer who is not qualified, and you got a building like that which is leaning over, I mean, I don't think anybody wants that. Right? Nobody wants that. And it happens. It happens. Even in Malaysia, we have got some cases where there's been some so-called malpractice, or whatever you call it, that engineers didn't do their job properly and buildings didn't come down.
Then how come the tower, the Paris Tower, Eiffel Tower, is the pride of Paris?
What's wrong with Eiffel Tower? Probably the engineer designing it is Mr. Eiffel is
Oh, Pisa Tower.
Pisa. That one lucky only because Intan also we have got one leaning tower. Also never fall down. So Malaysian engineers just as good. They can build a leaning tower just like that one.
It is built on purpose.
Sorry?
Is it built on purpose?
No, not. Even the one Intan is not on purpose. Okay, this is more personal to you. Yes, a lot of people always ask, why register? We know there are a lot of jobs you require to be registered if you want to practice, because they require you to put your stamp and chop and sign. But there are a lot of jobs which don't require you to do that. And I think in the telecommunication industry, I think there's no such requirement. Am I right? There's no rush. But still, we always try to encourage people to go to become a professional engineer because there is a value to you personally. And what is that value is, number one, it gives you a personal confidence because it verifies to yourself that you have been theoretically and practically trained and competent to do your work. Alright? This is one thing I always talk when I go to the universities is, when you have a degree, basically means that you are, I hope no lecturers here, so I'm okay, you are just theoretically trained. Alright, because as a student you don't have much chance to use what you know. And you need another so-called process to make sure that you know how to use what you have learned. And this is what the professional engineer registration is about at the personal level, at the individual level. Because it gives you a structured process where you can prove to yourself that I am not only qualified theoretically, but that I can do what I've been trained to do. Alright? And that is, I think, is very important to you individually to go through that process. Alright?
So in actual fact, a lecturer, an engineer who's a lecturer should get an IR, right?
Yes.
You want to get an IR, you must be a practicing engineer, right?
Yes.
I
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And in fact, the regulations are there.
You should be listening to a professor who only speaks and has no real field exposure.
Yes, that is actually the current trend. In fact, in Malaysia, every engineering program must have at least 30% have changed that. 30% of all the lecturers must have an IR, must be a registered professional engineer, because they don't want, as one lecturer or friend of mine said, nowadays some of the lecturers are teaching from textbook to textbook.
Yeah, they're teaching things from me.
And he claims, I don't know whether it sounds very exaggerated, but he is quite a respected figure. He says one of his young lecturers is teaching electrical power. He says one of the young lecturers just teaches what he has taught in the textbook. He produces the same thing for his students, and he has never even seen a real transformer before. I'm not sure whether it sounds very exaggerated, but it's really quite is. It's one of my young lecturers. He has never actually gone to the field and actually worked on the transformer. But yeah, he's teaching transformer theory.
I met a lot of lecturers who call themselves engineers, and they don't talk like engineers.
I think there's a lot of truth there. I mean, with all due respect to the lecturers, of course they've got something to contribute in terms of their academic ability. But engineering, at the end of the day, is a practicing profession, right? Unlike, say, chemistry or physics, that one you can be 100% theoretical if you do not want to work in industry, right? Because they are not a professional job. But if you are an engineer and if you have not actually worked in engineering, it sounds a bit funny, right? I think most people in engineering, including those in the universities, are fully aware of that. They're trying to do that. But it's just, in the case of lecturers, I think the problem is, it's the career opportunities. Because as a lecturer, most of them goes for higher degrees. And because of that, they have no opportunity to go and work.
But in overseas, usually the lecturers are those people who has worked in industry, and then they become lecturers, and they are the people who wrote the books.
Ideally, that should be the way, that they should, before they go for higher degrees, spend at least a few years working in the industry before they go back into research. For some of them, actually, they do research, but many of them, well, not all are today, but a lot of lecturers go and actually take their sabbatical in a company, in industry, right? So there's the different routes. But for lecturers, admittedly, their route to be trained both in the academic and the practical aspects of engineering is a bit more involved, right? So it's just to give yourself that confidence and credibility to yourself, to prove to yourself that, look, I am practically competent. The second one is, it's about professionalism, because professionalism, we were trying, definitely in Malaysia at least, we were trying to drum to you that you should have an attitude where, because of your ability to influence a lot of things, that you should abide by a code of ethics and professional conduct. Alright? And these are something that sometimes the law cannot take fully into consideration. Yeah? Because the law cannot cover everything. A lot of things actually will fall back on individual ethics and your own commitment to a way of behavior and conduct. So that's the other thing we would like all professionals, including engineers, to be doing. The third thing is a professional so-called qualification helps you when you are doing international work. Alright? Now there is actually a system of recognition of professional registered engineers across not only the ASEAN region but across the world. And it's recognized by all the countries who are involved. So that helps a lot, and particularly you are doing business. You can walk across borders and people will know that your degree can be, or your qualification is recognized. A degree alone may not allow you to do that, right? May not allow you to do that. Because many other countries now also require you to be professionally registered. And of course, once you, particularly when you join IEM, then you got a peer network and support, which is actually very useful, because as professionals, we always need to be updated, particularly in the kind of field that we are doing. Alright? And IEM can be a very good platform for you all to network and to upgrade yourself and to actually also contribute to updating new engineers who are coming in. So I won't go into more details. I already talked about all these things about that professional engineers take risks and responsibilities in a lot of their work, right? And some of the standard things that where it is very formalized are consultant engineers, all right? Consultant engineers, all our consultant engineers need to stamp and sign on their drawings when they submit for approval, all right? As in telecoms, at the moment not yet. But who knows, one day you all might need that. The last one, certified professional, that's the one I was talking about just now, but it didn't go through. But it might come again. You know why? Because I'm very surprised, you know, in the United States today, they register IT professionals, which I find very surprising. And then IT professionals goes through a very strict system of examination. So it might be introduced in Malaysia as well in the future, not at the moment. So who are the people or the organizations involved in the regulation of engineers? Alright, so So the two main bodies actually is the Board of Engineers, Lembaga Juruterang Malaysia, and the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, or we call ourselves IEM in short. In short, very simple, the Board of Engineers is a regulatory body. They are a government agency and their main job is to regulate engineers and to register qualified engineers. Right? And of course, as we all know, all registered professional engineers has got a pre-nominal, we call it IR, which stands for engineer in Latin, I think, and post-nominal PENG. Alright? That gives recognition to the fact that we are registered. Now, the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, in short, basically we are a national body representing the interests of engineers and the profession in the country. We are a non-profit organization, alright? We work on a voluntary basis, and our primary job is to help and support engineers and the profession in this country. Yeah.
So when do you use the pre-nominal and when do you use the post-nominal?
At the same time. No, I mean, this is designated by law. We are allowed to use IR dot, very specific, you must have the dot in front of the name, and after your name you use PENG. It's by law. Actually, if somebody who is not registered use that actually can be charged in court. Yes, you have to go through the professional evaluation process, which I should talk about a little bit later. And let me introduce two IEM staff, Sarita and Nor Shatika. They have come here to take your money to make sure you get registered straight away. Not just joking. But they are here to give you the convenience. If you can be convinced by me today about the fact that it is useful to you to join the institution, right? Then you don't have to go back and have the hassle to do it all over again. Yeah, we hope I hope that I can do it together with the help from my colleague here, PJ. So, as I said, Miem is the regulatory body. They are mandated by law to register engineers. And they set the regulation how and what engineers can and should be registered. IEM, so okay, this is what I'm trying to distinguish because a lot of people already get confused. Right? BEM basically authorizes IEM to conduct. Okay, there are also two things. The way to get registered engineer, there are two so-called examinations or two routes. The BEM calls it PAE, Professional Assessment Examination. Actually, I made it a bit clearer, but it's not. Professional Assessment Examination. That is the name that the Board of Engineers gives to the exam. Oh dear. And the Institution of Engineers calls it a professional interview. Oh, yeah, excuse me for a while.
There's no hospital in Sanjaya.
Có mà Putrajaya got very near across the road.
That's why I don't get choked.
Oh yeah. No more pop. Hey, so few dua saja. No, I just use the pointer. I can use this. I use the pointer. Okay, I think I'm good now. So I can't see. Okay. Sorry, camera. Maybe I'm talking something sensitive now. I walk away. No, not really. Because I said the Board of Engineers calls the exam the Professional Assessment Examination, and the IEM calls it the Professional Interview. The reason why is IEM and BM are two different bodies. So whatever they do, they call it by different names. Just because they're different bodies. But what I say is that the Board of Engineers authorizes IEM to conduct the Professional Assessment Exam for registered professional engineers, which means IEM conducts the PAE on behalf of BEM. Right? In simple words, IEM, I repeat, conducts, I'm on camera again. The PAE on behalf of IEM. Sorry, on behalf of BEM. Alright? IEM also conducts its own exam called the Professional Interview. Now, the PAE is straightforward. They've got an examination. Alright? The board, they don't do it themselves. They say, IEM, please do it for us. The IEM, we have got our professional interview. Alright? Our professional interview, of course, when we pass our professional interview, for IEM, the purpose of the professional interview is to qualify you to become a corporate member of IEM. Alright? This is a corporate member. You must pass the professional interview to become a corporate member of IEM. Alright? The link now is the last line. All corporate members of IEM are eligible for registration as a professional engineer with BEM. Does that make sense to you, the link? So if you do the PAE, the board will say, IEM do it, IEM will do it, and when they pass the PAE, the person will go straight back to the Board of Engineer and registers a PE as a professional engineer. Alright, straightforward. IEM just does it, the results will be sent back to the board and you get registered. If you want to go through the alternative route, which means goes through IEM, you sit for the professional interview, you pass it, you become a corporate member of IEM. But by law, this is in the Registration of Engineers Act, so IEM in that sense is quite powerful. We are mentioned in the Registration of Engineers. We are entitled that once you become a corporate member of IEM, then you go back to the board and register as a professional engineer. Alright? You will be allowed. You don't have to sit for the exam again. Alright? So that's the way it happens. That's the way it happens. The two routes, we call it.
The first route is still going on.
Sorry?
First route, PAE by the board.
It's still going on, yeah, it's still going on. Now, then you say, what's the difference between the two so-called exams? Actually, it's the same. Because the PAE tends to follow the professional interview. In fact, I think it's 99% the same. The thing is that same exam. I think the only difference is the code of ethics, they have different questions. That's all. Alright? But the entire structure, process is exactly the same. They call it different names.
It's actually not a paper assessment, it's an interview.
Both. It's paper plus interview. Right? I'll talk a little bit more about it later. So, okay, so you get that clear? Yes. Then I'll move on. Oh, it's not break this. This is the diagram everybody is waiting for. Right? So this is one of the most comprehensive diagrams on the process. So I've talked about it. Of course, you must start with an academic requirement. It means must be an accredited degree. Alright, you must have a recognized degree. If you're not recognized, then in some cases you're allowed to top up with a masters, but must be a taught masters, not by research. Must be a taught degree. And once you got an accredited degree, you can be registered in the board of engineers as a graduate engineer, and you can be applied to be a graduate member of IEM. How many of you are registered with the board?
I've got a number, I'm not sure. Is that a registration? I've got an...
That means you are registered. Because the registration of the graduate engineer is very simple. You pay 50 ringgit for life. You don't have to worry about it.
So that's considered a member?
Yes, a graduate engineer. Graduate engineer. That means you are safe. People cannot come and charge you with impersonating an engineer. No. If you look at the Registration of Engineers Act, if you don't register with the board and you call yourself an engineer, you can be charged in court. Yeah, it's that strict. But of course, in practice, the board doesn't take any action so far. Yeah, they don't take any action. But if you look at the Registration of Engineers Act, they can actually charge anybody. But this is basically to prevent anybody to just call themselves an engineer. They don't want that, right? IEM the same thing, of course. So always separate the two. IEM, we are following the same, but we just call them, you are our graduate member. So you meet all the requirements, academic requirements, you can join IEM as a graduate member. Alright, so that's done. So many of you never register with the board. I strongly suggest you go to the board. The board of engineers is in JKR, near Bank Negara. You know where the JK quarters? From the first building there, you go right to the top. You just got to fill in a form, but I think you need to bring your degree, your transcript, and you pay 50 ringgit. And you only do it one time. Online now, they can do online. Alright? You can do it online.
Sign for professional engineering job.
No, not yet. This is only the first step. The signing one is down here. You're only here now. Stage one. Stage one only.
Last time,
Now online you just use the number.
last
You get his number, then you put it.
last time I need to
Yeah.
I asked to sign.
Yes.
Oh, you already registered. No problem. So start with this first step. The reason why is in order for you to be eligible to sit for either the PAE or the PI, you must have at least 3 years of relevant work experience. And that starts from the day you register. So if you don't register, all your experience does not count. Does not count. So a lot of people are not aware of that. Alright, so you can be working 10 years, wow, fantastic engineer, you do a lot of projects. When you want to apply for PI, BM will not recognize anything before you register. So all the 10 years is wasted. The logic is very simple. They say, you are actually illegal. You are not registered as an engineer with us, even as a graduate engineer. So why are you working as an engineer out there? So theoretically, in fact, we can charge you also that you have been working as an engineer illegally. That's their logic, right? So do get yourself registered. It's only one time. You don't have to go every year, and you only pay 50 ringgit. So the second step is you must have 3 years of relevant work experience, and then you go and sit for the exam. That's the third step. This is a training requirement. Now it's the registration. This part, as I said, is conducted by IEM. And as I said, right, if you go through the IEM route, you become an IEM corporate member, and then you can go yourself register as a professional engineer. If you go direct to the PAE, then once you pass the PAE, you go register direct with the Board of Engineers as a professional engineer. Now this is something new here. The Board of Engineers has now introduced a 2-tier registration, which means PE is not the end of the route. But actually, for all intents and purposes, the PE is good enough for most of us. They wanted a second tier, which is called the Professional Engineer with Practicing Cert. The Professional Engineer with Practicing Cert at the moment is targeted mainly for the consultants in the construction industry. because those people need to submit plans and drawings which they must chop and sign, and therefore take responsibility if the building or whatever comes down, they will actually be held responsible. For those type of jobs, they need people with a practicing cert. And that one goes through another exam which is called the Professional Competency Exam. And that Professional Competency Exam is actually very, very, very difficult. Alright, they just started it a year or two ago. Alright, the first time was held, or rather the trial, only 6% of the people passed. I think the next year they did it was 16%, so it's still very low figures. But this is a very specialized kind of exam, targeted at a specific profession. For your purpose, I don't think you'll be interested in that, and you don't really need that, because at that stage you are already a registered professional engineer. That's fine. And it actually is no use for you, because at the moment the competency exam is actually targeted for consultant. Of course, they are trying to expand it to other areas. I think Petronas is trying to do it for their oil and gas engineers, alright, and a few others, which requires very special and specific knowledge, which they want to make sure that engineers in this category will have, but they are going to be very specific, alright. And once you become either a PhD or one with practicing certificate, you will have to maintain the registration. You will have to go for continuing professional development, CPD. So that means every year you must attend certain number of courses, so on and so forth, to maintain your registration. Yeah. So that's in gist how the route to professional engineer. So maybe I should stop here a little while and ask any questions.
So if we go to the PAE,
yeah,
that means we cannot chop and sign, right? We have the professional engineer's title, but we cannot chop and sign.
You can.
Also,
you can.
Still.
PAE and PI, the outcome will be the same. You become a professional engineer, you can chop and sign.
But not with practicing.
You still can. This is chop and sign for the consultants in the building industry. So if you want to eventually leave Mcmc and become a consultant, then you better go for this. But if you are here, as far as I know, telecom industry don't require that. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. I don't think there's any requirement for chop and sign and all these things. You don't need that.
So we only go to the
yes, that is more than enough actually. So this one is only, at the moment I say, is targeted for the consulting engineers in the construction industry. So if you're not in that line, you don't need to go there. Anyway, you wouldn't want to do it, because here the exam will ask you, half the exam is on law. They will ask you on the uniform building bylaws. They will ask you what is the requirement for this and that. Do you want to do that? It's not relevant for your job.
Okay, I have registered with IM for more than 10 years. So if I want to go through the professional interview, what are requirements? Do I have to do papers or?
Yes, I will explain that. Okay, this is not the end, this is the beginning. Sorry, the breakdown a bit.
So after registering, then can you put your PE
yes. Then you can put your IR in front and the P.
No, belum exam lagi. You just register.
Oh, before you cannot put anything except except for IM. If you join IM, the only thing we allow you is to put grad IM. Grad IM stands for graduate member lah. GRAD .IEM.
The BM doesn't allow it.
BM nothing. Yes. BM tak ada nothing. When you are a graduate engineer, nothing.
Tapi BM allow graduate.
No, BM has no titles one for graduate engineer.
I see a lot of people putting behind their name PNG.
PNG is when you have achieved that.
Yeah, so you have to go through that lah.
Yes. If not, then actually it can be, it's actually illegal. We know there are some people trying to do that, and actually a lot of people has actually asked the board of engineers to take action because there are a lot of impersonators out there, people trying to act as engineers when they are not. We may not think much about it because we've got a regular job, but there are a lot of people out there who do all kinds of things, you know, for various reasons. I mean, I'm as the executive director at IEM. Almost every year I got to do a police report against people who have, yeah, I've done 4 police reports already.
For this year?
Not this year lah. Over the last, I mean, almost like once a year. The previous time I came also, I did 3 police reports. This time 1 already, I did 1 police report. For people who are not either even IEM member who is not registered as a profession, they use those titles. And we were told that a lot more people out there was doing that, right? So there is value in getting yourself registered. People are going out there and do all these things. Alright, so yeah, but if you are here, you don't have any titles except for IEM here. You can use grad IEM. That's all. But once you reach here, then you can use IR in front and PENG at the back. And if you want the add-ons, MIEM. That's also allowed.
Question.
Sure.
For the CPD, once you have you've gotten your professional engineer,
Yeah.
do you need to go for CPD? To go for process to get the CPD to maintain your PE, or is it just for the practicing this certificate?
No, for both.
For both.
What is it?
TV data.
It's TV,
They
yeah.
absorb data.
It absorb it.
Why the one can?
The other
Different.
Different screen.
Different screen.
This one cannot. Yeah, once you reach here or here, you have got to do CPD every year to allow you to continue to be registered. But usually it's not very difficult. CPD is not a big issue.
It's attending.
Yeah, it's just attending. There's no exams or anything. So you want to make sure that you attend certain courses, you upgrade yourself, you keep yourself continuously updated in what you are doing. That's all. That's all. It's not difficult.
Just now you mentioned for BDM, the registration is lifetime. If you get once you register BDM.
Yes, only for this part.
But once you have your PE, you have
Then it's not forever. Once you reach here, you pay 200 ringgit a year.
a year.
Every year. If you reach here, 400 ringgit a year.
That
Plus
is,
this
you pay to BDM.
DM, not IEM. But you join IEM, you can continue, because the reason why IEM will be very useful is, and we always recommend you to go to this part, is because the BM do not do anything to help you to be registered or to maintain the registration. It organizes a lot of training, seminars, talks for you to get your CPD, also to help you with your professional interview. Alright, we also conduct very regular talks about how you can be registered as a professional engineer, just like what I'm doing now. Actually, we've got people talking almost like once every month. I think there's some talks, and sometimes we even go out station. BM generally do not do that unless by invitation. Alright, and some bodies, maybe you all like invite them, they will probably come. Alright, but they don't do very much. Right, but IEM we do that all the time. We conduct a lot of other things to help you achieve your registration. I will talk about it later. There are other things like the mentoring scheme. We've got things like logbook scheme and stuff like that, you know. And we give a lot of courses to help you to develop that. Yeah. So that's why we always recommend that. And even when you get that, it's useful to maintain your membership IEM, because you will need that. BM does not conduct CPD courses. They were the ones to give the points. We are, of course, IEM, we are a CPD point we are allowed to do that. But they are the one who actually, the board of engineers is the one who actually authorizes it. They are the authority, everything comes from the board. But they don't do anything. They give permission. They just give permission. And we have to follow by.
I think engineers.
Yeah. The board people are all engineers. Okay, so let's move on. Otherwise, I think I'm running way behind time. I hope you can bear with me. It's already behind time. How much time have you all got? Thank you for staying after 4. But I'll try as much as possible. That's the only thing. Right? Okay. So now I'm going into a bit of detail. When I talk about the 3-year, I think I better come back here because I need to move the cursor up and down. When I talk about the
3 years.
these 3 years work experience, this is what I'm talking about now. The practical experience. Alright? So as I said here, it's a minimum of 3 years. As I said, from the date of registration with the board. Alright? And these are some of the things that they have been, these are general, these are very general recommendations, what they expect in your experience. Firstly, there's actually it's quite general, right? Planning, design, execution, management of works, in engineering, research, or teaching. Teaching is allowed, but especially that's why in response to your question, but they must have at least 1 year of practical experience.
If we are PhD students, we are doing digital research, so we can put it in the digital research part.
They allow that. That's a difficult one.
Research from Google or research in the industry?
It must be practical industry research.
Yeah.
Academic research is not acceptable. Alright? Academic research, purely academic research, not acceptable. So when we say about this research, it has to be industrial research. Yeah, must be industrial research. And the second item here is 1 year of practical experience must be obtained in Malaysia. This is mainly for the, especially for foreigners or where you work overseas. So you cannot take all your experience from overseas, come back and straight away say, look, I've done my 3 years overseas. Tak boleh, 1 year of that experience must be local. You can take 2 years overseas and 1 year must be local. Alright? Because they want to make sure that you have got local experience, as they call it. Okay? So what does the PAE or the PI consist of? So these are details. Right? The details means there is an interview and there's an essay. Right? 2 parts. An interview and an essay. Oh, okay, the other thing I didn't mention here is actually there's a documentation that we submitted. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Actually, there are actually 3 things. You have to submit documents, alright, based on certain requirements. You got to attend an interview. At the interview also, you will need to do essay writing. Okay? So documents I'll talk about it later, but in the interview, you'll be tested on the application of engineering principles to the solution of problems from basically engineering, right? And the other thing is very important is the ability to communicate. Yeah. So it's not just, you have to remember that for a professional engineer, the concept is we're not looking just purely at your technical knowledge. We are looking also at your ability to manage, you got your leadership skills, your communication skills, your teamwork. Alright? That is what we mean when we talk about whether you have sufficient professional experience. Right? Actually, technical, we only want to see how you have managed to apply whatever you have learned into real life practice. Right? Because we know that if you come from a recognized degree, you know your stuff already, at least theoretically. Right? It's not our job to test you again on what your lecturers have done in the university. That's not the idea. The idea is whether that knowledge you can apply it in the real world, and how you apply it in terms of working in an engineering environment. That always means, and I think most of us have worked before would know that in engineering it's not just technical, right? There's always management issues, teamwork issues, sometimes ethical issues when you've got difficult decisions to make, right? Communication, whether you can actually work as a team and communicate with your customers, your clients and stuff like that. So all those things are part of professional practice. It's not just technical, right? Essays, there are only two essays. One essay is technical, which is based on your, because it's part of the document you're submitting for the exam, is you need to submit one technical project that you have done. And that technical project, because at the interview there's only so much that the interviewer can find out whether you really know it. So they will always put you through an essay, alright, based on that project you have forwarded, alright. That is just a secondary way of checking lah. And it's not very long, it's only about 1.5 hours, will be allowed for each paper. The second essay is on the code of ethics lah. There will be a list of questions, and I think they will select 2 and you just select one of them. You just write on the topic. Usually it's a controversial type of topic lah. Ethics usually has got no clear-cut answers, right? So, but this purpose of this is basically to make sure that you know right, alright, that you can argue with certain things, because like ethics in particular, quite often there's not clear-cut. How you argue it out and what are the circumstances, what are the assumptions, right? So these are the essays. That's in brief how the professional interview is going to be done. I've not talked about the documentation yet, that's the other part. Right, any questions so far?
How much do you need to pay for that test?
There's one slide there. But if you want a quick answer, Sarita there is very familiar with how much you're going to pay. I show the slide first lah. There's a slide later on. Hang on, that will also keep you all maybe here interested to stay on for a bit more. You know the price. So anyway, I will remind me if I didn't give you I've got a slide on that. Alright, so Amendments to Engineers Act is basically, I want to talk about, actually it's not really very important for you all, but this is about the new level, which is the practicing cert, right, which I've already talked about, right? 2-tier registration, okay? Wow, technology is coming in. Better not. That's what coming in. Right? So essentially, looks like time is running out. 10 more minutes. Okay, I'll try and finish it off in 10 minutes. I shall not go to this. I mentioned about the practicing cert. As I said, not really critical, the first step. I think I mentioned the reason. This is just an explanation for the 2-tier registration. And again, this one is something I'll skip through very quickly, but as I mentioned, when you are registered as a professional engineer, it enables you to take your qualification around the world. Right? And these are some of the organizations which deals with international professional registration. Okay, so I think I don't need to explain that, except this. So some of those things which IEM is very involved in terms of international recognition of professional qualifications is these two. This is by the board. The ASEAN Chartered Professional Engineer, you can actually register the board. IEM has got, as part of the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, we also have a register we call ASEAN Engineer. Right now, there's currently we are trying to merge these two. Right? We also got an APEC Engineer Register, and we've got an International Professional Engineer title, which is under the International Professional Engineers Alliance, which is an international body dealing with the registration of international engineers. Alright, this is further step lah, but you must start with your PENG first. Right? So that's the first set of slides. I don't think you all would be able to sit through for another set of slides, but I will just go through the few that might be of interest to you. Okay. So meanwhile, if there's any questions, I'm sure if I can't answer, my colleague here, PJ Low, will definitely help you to answer while I change the slides over. Any more interesting questions?
Oh, actually, I thought I want to address the IT question just now, but since she's not here, then
Sorry, IET.
no, the IT.
Oh, IT. Okay. Why don't you do it?
No, your slides are already.
Do it faster, Chiang.
Ya, jangan cepat-cepat lah. Orang tua tak boleh cepat-cepat. Okay, this one I'll try and do it as fast as I can lah. Alright? Because sometimes once you go into details, there's actually a fair bit of things to understand. You want to understand it properly. Right, I think this one I can skip through very fast because this is more for graduates. Alright, about accredited. Just for your interest, engineering degrees are all accredited by this place called the Engineering Accreditation Council Malaysia, which is actually another body governed by the Board of Engineers. They set up this body called the EAC to look after accreditation of our engineering program. I think most of you will probably be from accredited engineering program because most established universities here in Malaysia, their programs are recognized. So I wouldn't go through it because I don't think it's important for you all. Of course, if you have got a degree from overseas, they also, every country has got their own organizations to recognize their degrees. Alright? And in the United Kingdom, they've got the Engineering Council. The US, they've got ABET. Australia is Engineers Australia. New Zealand is IPEN. And any one of you are foreign graduates? Any foreign graduates? Just one.
University graduate or?
University. Oh, I hope you are from recognized universities.
Yes, scholarship they are recognized, right?
No, not necessary. Our government has made mistakes before. Maybe now no more lah. I think in the early days they did send some of our students to universities which were not recognized. But I think probably that's history already. I knew that they did, and those students got into a lot of problems because when they come back it was not recognized. But if you got a problem with recognition, then I think there might be an avenue. They might allow you to take a master's, recognized taught master's degree in Malaysia. You get yourself
Any master?
in the same field as what you did in your first degree. Okay, I won't go through that. These are all about universities. Okay, this is important. One of the methods that IEM has introduced to help engineers to get their professional engineer registration is what we call the logbook scheme, or the new name we are going to give it is the Engineering Competency Development Scheme. Alright? So I think actually the first name is actually more useful because logbook, I think you all understand what is a logbook. Alright? It's not compulsory. If your company has got plenty of professional engineers, particularly your boss, then because basically your professional experience must be verified, signed off and signed by a professional engineer. So if you work in an organization we do not have professional engineers, what are you going to do? So you go through the logbook scheme where IEM will help you look for a mentor. The mentor will guide you, alright, and he will verify your work experience.
So the mentor has to be assigned by IEM?
Approved by IEM, not assigned. You can choose your mentor. We got a list of mentors. No, I think there are small requirements. We must have people who has been a PE for a small number of years. 3 years experience, 3 years experience. After getting your PE, then they have to let IEM know. So we have got a list of mentors that you all can actually choose from.
Did you
Alright.
get at least?
I am. Actually, you are very lucky. Very often we don't have Sarita here. Sarita is actually the person in charge of what we call applications and training, examinations and qualification. She's the one actually handle all these applications. Alright? And correct me if I'm wrong, Sarita, anything wrong I speak. She does it on every day. That's her regular job until she gets fed up of it, I think. Alright, so this is a very useful scheme. Say in MCMC, if you don't have much PE now, you may want to opt for this. Alright?
Is this a requirement in order for you to go through PI?
No, it's not compulsory.
So, for example, because when you mentioned earlier that you have, if in the organization there's no IR, you have to go through this. But if you opt not to have this, can we go straight to the PI?
You will have a lot of problem because, as I said, your application, you must submit your work experience in detail.
Okay.
Now, somebody must verify that. Now, your organization don't have any IR.
Right now.
So they can't verify it, even though they know what they are doing. And when you go outside organization, I think it's not fair and it's actually not right for you to ask somebody who don't really know what you do to verify your work experience. So that's actually not acceptable also. So the only recourse is to go through this one. If your company, your organization don't have any IR or don't have any IR willing to verify your work experience, then this is actually a very good scheme.
Is there a period for the logbook to you keep a logbook? Can be 2 days, can be 1 year, can be 3 years.
It's 3 years, but I think you can have, right?
Can backdate 1 year.
You can even backdate 1 year.
Oh,
Can
backdate
backdate.
1 year.
That means maybe you at first you didn't know lah, and then you dilly-dally, then finally you decided, I want a logbook. You can actually submit 1 year, backdate 1 years of experience and include it into the logbook. Because the logbook, every 3 months, your mentor must sign one, 3 months, isn't it? 3 months. Has to verify and sign. So that means your mentor is constantly in touch with what you're doing, and he is expected to actually visit you in your organization and even maybe to talk to your supervisor or your immediate boss. That's what a mentor does. But at the end of the day, he is the one who will sign off your logbook. And that document will be used as being a verified history of your work experience. Okay.
You mentioned if the organization have someone with PE, then what's the option?
Then you don't need to go through the logbook.
Okay.
Then your PE, if he's willing to verify your work experience, he can do it for you.
I see. And the work experience is for 3 years as well? Or?
Minimum is 3 years.
Minimum is 3 years.
Yes.
So for the logbook, you have to keep it for 3 years before you can go to the PI.
Backdate 1 year.
You can backdate 1 year, so you need 2
2
years.
years.
Minimum lah.
So just now, the work experience, how does it being captured? For organization with PE?
You basically, there's an open format. Of course,
Tapi dia previous lagi
Open format.
there is a form lah. There's a format which you have to fill in.
lain kan macam
And now the professional interview or the exam has been improved in the sense that now we are giving you a list of competencies. Competencies basically is what we call like a rubric. You know what is a rubric, right? In the past we don't have that. Now we list down that your work experience must comply to these 5 categories of competencies. I think 2 of them are technical, 3 of them are more management. So you look at your work experience and you have to map your work experience to those competencies. Or you reverse it the other way around. When you say what type of work experience is useful, you look at your competencies that you'll be tested on. So you make sure your work experience covers those things. Alright? I can show you what those competencies are, just to give you an idea. And so it's two ways. When you fill in the form, you have to map your work experience to the competencies. But before you start your work experience, it's the other way around. You probably want to look at the competencies and tailor your work experience such that it will all cover the competencies. So that when you come to filling in the form, you can do it in reverse. Alright?
Regardless of your major degree, electronic, communication. The last time, during my time, electronics is also down for communication.
Yes. Okay, I got to be a bit careful on that. Most of you, I think, except for one, is in electrical or electronics engineering. That's good enough. And when you register with the board, I think you would have registered most likely under electronics engineering. Electrical. That's
It must be
better.
based on our degree.
Okay, so my degree and transcript is electrical.
Transcript.
Yeah. Now that's a bit tricky. I think electrical you can do electronic, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the advantage. When you are registered in electrical, you are allowed to gain your work experience in electronic. Alright, but not the other way around. Huh?
Yeah.
If you are registered as electronic, you cannot do work in electrical.
Laptop.
Sorry?
Laptop lah.
So, in my case, I get my PE on communication.
Depends on what you are registered with the board. Alright? Whether you are registered as electrical or electronic. But when they do electronic work experience, can they still be registered under electrical?
PH ke?
But they were original registered.
Tak PH. Itu tulis tu kan?
They are registered as electrical.
Grade IEM.
Grade IEM.
Yeah. So they will change the registration to electronic. That's why I suspect. So it's a bit tricky because they are very strict on all these things. According to our experience is, if you are electrical, your experience here, if you take it, which is in telecommunications, once examined, they will change your registration from electrical to electronic. They don't distinguish between, I think, normally they only distinguish electrical and electronic. Electronic normally covers communications, computers, quite a few others. Right? Normally they just lump it under electronics. Electrical is mainly for power and maybe control systems. Alright? So electrical normally is, they call it a major discipline. Because it's more protected, let me put it this way. Because electrical people, there are more safety issues involved. They are more established, so they tend to protect it a little bit more. So that's why I was saying that if you are registered in electrical, they allow you to do electronic and shift yourself to electronic. But if you are registered electronic, you cannot shift yourself to electrical. They won't allow that. Even if you are working, you're not supposed even to work in electrical. If your engineering degree is registered as electronic, there's no way you can shift back to electrical. But for electrical, you can shift to electronic. Yeah? Okay. Any more queries before I move on quickly?
Fee lah, fee.
Wow, that's the most important. Okay. No big deal. I've talked about this, right? This is what is specified, but generally I can tell you most interviewers will not be very specific. But just to give you an idea is that normally they look at two things. One is design experience and the other one is site experience.
Design experience.
Kalau tak ada, since the work is more
Design.
Well,
Desktop.
design does not have to be one big major design. It could also mean smaller designs. You see, I'm sure most of you will also have some sort of design. Design could also mean like some sort of modification. I mean, that can be classified as design. It does not be like greenfield design, you know, I design a new transmitter. Not necessarily lah, something so powerful. So you modify a piece of equipment that's normally can be accepted.
For us, we normally deal with, say for example, coming up with regulations, technical regulations, technical requirements,
No, it's not a design.
that kind of thing. Do you consider that as a design? Because we are regulators, so we don't really deal with the hands-on thingy. Yeah, that's the thing.
Hard for me to. But frankly, as far as I know, for particularly in electronics, communications, they are not too particular. I know people have gone through who has not really submitted anything on design. In fact, in my particular case, so my design was not very. My design was more of when I said for my PEE, that's like 20 years ago, no, more 30 years ago, maybe more. Was actually more like just more of a modification kind of thing. That's why I've done it. So it's modify a certain thing, or you.
Because our nature of code is regulatory, and that's the thing. It's more policy, technical policy kind of thing. But there's some.
No, but I think there is some design involved, because design doesn't have to be equipment.
Okay.
You might be involved in, let's say, the designing of, let's say, I don't know, infrastructure. I mean, I don't know whether you all do that. Planning. Planning can also involve design. Planning of some kind, maybe field strength coverage, all those kind of things. I don't think you need to be really like designers in coming up with equipment. When you design, say, frankly, I know you guys do a lot of, say, field strength coverage kind of stuff, for example. When you do an evaluation of that, or when you do a planning for that, it can be construed as being some sort of design. I think that's good enough. Because planning in some sort of ways is also a design. You do a plan, right? But it may not be a design in terms of a piece of equipment, but it's a design in terms of, I mean, I'm not sure what you all do, but let's say you need to design certain places. Let's say I know the telco companies, they do that. They put where to put the telecom towers, to get proper field strength coverage, spread over a certain area. I mean, to me that is a design of the network, of the radio frequency network, where is the best place to put. So it does not have to be like equipment related.
It's not tangible.
Yeah, it's not tangible, but it's design. So you have to be a little bit creative sometimes to think of how to interpret the word design. Yeah. So as I said, this part I'm quite sure, especially in our area in electronics and communication, there is some leeway here, right? Because I think most interviewers also recognize not all engineers do actually just design. That is mainly for the construction industry again. Okay, I'm not going to this. This is 1 year. Outcome based. I don't think I need to switch over. Okay, I will skip away on all the justification and the reasons. Okay, I'll go straight to the thing, which is belum. Harga. Wait, coming. I won't go even that. Harga. Is it still valid? This harga still valid?
Wow, so many expensive.
Discount.
Don't be scared lah. Options. No more options.
100 plus 100 plus 155 and
Okay, when you apply for, this is for IEM lah. I don't want to confuse it more because the BM is slightly different. Alright? Okay, when you submit application form, this is purely professional interview. So if you are not a member of IEM, 300. If you are a member of IEM, 200.
Oh, discount already.
Give you discount so that you join IEM.
Plus annual monthly.
Processing fee is sama lah. But except that if you are non-member, we will charge you 100 ringgit more lah. Right? If you are successful, alright, then Tarita, what is this? Greater than 2 years means you are a member for more than 2 years. More than 2 years of members, you pay less lah.
The transfer fee is the 100.
100.
And then library and building fund 100. And then 155 is the
Annual fee.
Oh, got library fee.
This is member.
This is sikit lah, otherwise IEM no money lah. IEM don't get a single cent from the government. We are 100% self-financing. Alright, we are non-profit. So if you got less than 2 years, you have to pay a bit more lah. Again,
What do you
same.
mean by transfer?
From graduate member to corporate member.
Kalau dah lepas lah.
How much mah?
Tak payah fikir lagi ni lah. Register dulu.
All this election means you are not even a member at all. 100%.
I'm a member.
That is board. Are you board or IEM?
Member board.
Board. IEM is different.
So if you want to do this one,
Yeah.
then this 200 you must be a member of IEM. Then you get the 200. Okay.
Yes. Now, if you want to go and do the PAE, that means direct with BM, you have to ask for the price.
Wait. Just now you have you register with BEM. You got a number that doesn't count for you.
Doesn't count. We are different organization.
Okay, so if you want to go through this, you must be a member of IEM. So to be a member of IEM, graduate member, you have to pay.
Graduate member of IEM, you only pay about 110, I think. 110 ringgit.
The one-time thing lah.
No. IEM is not one time. Every year you have to pay.
Every year.
Yeah.
So if you are registered to the board member, then you still have to go through the PAE lah.
No. Registering with the board is mandatory. Whether you join IEM or not is a different issue.
So you don't join, so you want to take this.
Then you go through the board.
Okay, go to
If
the
you're
board.
not an IEM member and you want to take the PAE, alright, you go to the board and this is what, Sarita, how much is the board charging for PAE? So little. 400. So the board charges you 400 to take the PAE. Then the board will say, please go to IEM. Because you don't have to pay IEM lah, because you already paid the board. Then we will conduct the PAE on their behalf. Once you pass, you send the result back to the board. And no more fees lah. Board is straightforward. Then they just register as a professional engineer, where you have to pay now 200 ringgit lah.
So then you don't have to pay for this annual fee for IEM lah.
Yes, but you must remember you get a lot of services from IEM. You go to the board without IEM, you get nothing. I can say there's nothing you get from the board. That means you got to do the entire evaluation process on your own. If you want to come and use IEM facilities, you can. You always pay a higher price. You want to attend a talk by IEM, you have to pay more compared to a member. So at the end of the day, you find it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And you cannot actually do I can think it's very difficult for you all to do the PI or even the PAE on your own, to be honest. Because to get the proper work experience, to fill in the proper forms, to make sure you comply, and if you don't have, like say, mentor, logbook scheme, that's all from IEM. And only allow IEM members to enjoy those things lah, because obviously we can't give it for free for anybody who walks in. So it is actually very
So
useful.
with that, when you register with IEM, the 110 is an annual fee.
That's an annual fee.
Annual fee, and
One.
then you give help.
Then you got a lot of things like courses, talks, even on how to sit for the
That's
PI.
free. That's free.
No, not free. You pay nominal sum, about 20 ringgit, 30 ringgit kind of thing.
For each course or what?
For each talk, yeah.
For each talk.
Also a bit expensive, 200.
Courses, yeah, maybe 100.
But in compared to outside, it's like 4,000 ringgit or those things.
What is our, to join as a graduate member, what is the, how much?
You have to pay 80 is the entrance fee plus, because they are both 30, so it's 155, so it's 255.
Why 155? You thought 110?
Not yet.
Graduate member.
If you work 30,
Oh.
155.
No, what? There's some young ones there, and they were 110.
Not married, I just married.
110. So the actual entrance fee is only 80 ringgit lah. 80 ringgit plus your membership for 1 year lah.
But the thing
100,
is,
sorry.
the registration is now, you see,
For you is 1,000.
3 years, right? I'm not interested. It's actually for my daughter. For 3 years, you register. You need to register for 3 years before you can. Tapi you are a BEM member for many years, and then that one doesn't count. To sit for this test.
How?
Counts,
The
huh?
important thing is you must be registered with BM.
Ah.
You will count from the day you're registered with BM.
That means if today macam orang tu dah 10-20 years lah, if today dia nak ambil all these things, they go straight away lah. Tak payah tunggu 3 years, isn't it?
No.
2
Yeah,
years lah,
can.
2 years. Huh?
No.
That, can lah, but you say the logbook tadi kalau orang tak ada ni, must have to, dia kata, he will go to hell lah.
You can doesn't mean that you are able to. Right? Different, huh? Can means, yes, by the law, say you have registered with the board for a long time lah. Anything out, if after 3 years, maybe after 10 years, you say, I want to now go and sit for the exam. You can. Alright? But now then, will you be able to? That's the second question. Able to means, yes, you've got the work experience. Is there anybody to verify for you? If you tak ada, then you're in problem. Then you have to start again lah. But your work experience still counted lah.
If you get those people listed there to verify, it's okay, isn't it?
They don't normally verify. They only verify only 1 year back. They can backtrack only 1 year. So it's not fair, mah. Right? You tell them, hey, I was chief engineer for Nokia, you know, for the last 10 years. Say, how do
He used to be your
I?
boss?
Huh?
If he used to be your boss?
I think that one can, can. If you can manage to get your boss,
Really?
is you can get him, that person, and he's also a PE.
Yeah.
And then you can. Then he has to verify that over the period of time he was your boss in say Nokia or Alcatel or whatever. Then it's okay, right? And he's also a PE. Yeah, if you can manage to get people to verify your work experience, all right, and your project.
Studio TV, you can verify me.
I don't know what you did, man. I always sleeping on the job, but only you hardworking.
Because you were
I
never
selalu
in the
tidur
studio.
saja.
Because you were never in the studio.
Yeah. So how to verify?
Counted.
I should verify you.
Jiwa.
Oh, Gio, she knows Gio?
Of course you know Jiwa.
Oh, small world.
Best friend.
Oh.
Your husband can verify for you, ma.
No, he's not an IEIR.
Yeah.
Tak ada makan.
But you know, I don't need this. I'm just understanding. So for my
But your daughter is an engineer.
Yeah.
Then you should ask her. Because actually, this thing is getting not only Malaysia, most countries are slowly
But she
introducing
likes banking better.
more money there, ma. Okay, I shall not hold you back. So this is roughly the money. And actually, we hope some of you will join IEM straight away. Alright? Because we have got these two young ladies there who has come all the way to give you instant membership. Now, okay, this is the one where I missed out just now. I talked about the professional interview. I talked about the essay writing, but this is a submission of documents. This is actually just as important, right? Submission of report. Yeah, the report consists of, this is the work experience. This is the one which needs to be verified by a PE. Number 2 is you must submit one technical report on one specific topic that you have done. Of course, it must also be verified by the PE that knows what you are doing. This is what I talked about lah, interview and the essays. Okay? So, question? Yeah?
Okay, the definition of project, how big is the project? Is the minimum requirement?
Usually, quite flexible lah. Most units are quite flexible. Alright? Ideally, of course, one nice big project lah.
How big is the project? Because any project can be a project, right?
Yeah.
So how do you scale the project?
We don't have a definition. Alright? But usually we look at it, the significance, the significance, the engineering significance. Whether it is something that has got a lot of content lah. I mean, if you do a simple project like wiring up this thing here like that, not sufficient lah. Then people say, fine, just like that. You consider that as your project. You know what I mean lah. I think something significant lah. Alright, that shows that. No, what you all do, like I know you all do go and check on all this illegal, because I used to supply the radio frequency van to you all. You are doing that lah? Yeah. Oh, you are the one who go around spying. No, macam itu. That's why I say you have to be creative lah when you say a project. Planning can be considered as a design. So your project can be like how I use all the equipment in Mcmc to locate an illegal transmitter station in the southern Thailand. Oh.
That one is peanuts for me lah, but a lot of people here in the Mcmc, they are people engineers.
Then you must make sure they go out with you to make sure that they also will treat it like peanuts. You know? No, because that can be. Of course, you must provide a bit of technical detail lah. Right, like you know, how you do it and all these things. There's some technical background. You know, that is considered a project. I mean, but of course, I'm not sure, but I think you can build it up to have a lot of things. You see, you know, how you zoom in on all these things, whether you use satellite lah, how you know the fellow there lah, you know, all these technical details. So only thing is that it must be significant lah, engineering, or it can be very small. It doesn't have to be like very big. Small but very significant, right? Some guy can be like, say, of course you all don't design equipment, but let's say we were trying to modify, you work with the company to modify a piece of equipment that is used for something, radio frequency monitoring or whatever,
Some sort of improvement.
something like that, but it's very technical. So long that the idea is you want to prove that you can apply your knowledge that you learn from university in the real world. Something significant lah, that's all. So how to define that, susah sikit lah, because so many things. That's the idea. The idea is you have to prove that.
I heard about the Six Sigma methodology, is it?
That is quality management more. Not really classified under here. This has to be engineering lah. We don't think like all this quality management. Not say cannot lah, but really not preferred lah. Because you are going in for, say, electronics engineering. Not unless yours is, you know, project management. But even engineering, there's no such thing called project management engineering, right? Because but project management is part of the other things that you need to show, the competencies. But by itself, things like Six Sigma and let's say quality management, we don't really classify that as part of this technical project. This one we want it to be engineering related.
So it is based on the mentor discretion?
No, mentor is only guiding you. He is not going to tell you what to do. And the mentor does not even pass you or fail you. He just verifies what you have done. When you go for the interview, it's the interviewer who will decide. But because you got the mentor, then it's just to help you verify your work experience and your project that you have actually done this. Right? Whether it's good enough or not, it's up to the interviewer, not up to the mentor. The mentor does not pass or fail you.
In order to skip all this hassle about this project is not good enough, not good enough. So
yes, the mentor can advise.
Does we have to submit some kind of proposals?
If you do the mentorship scheme, every year that logbook will go up to the committee, the logbook committee. They will review what you have done, and sometimes, quite often, they make some recommendation. And your mentor can make recommendation as to whether this is good enough. But as I said, he is not the one who will finally pass you or fail you lah. It's the interviewer. But normally the mentor can advise you, hey, this is tak cukup lah, this one not good enough, you know. But anyway, the overall logbook will be submitted to the logbook committee. They will actually every year they will look at it. Just review it only lah. That's all. They will make some suggestion. So, anything else?
You mentioned about the competencies.
I'll try and see whether it's on this slide. Okay, this is what I mentioned. Mentioned that, so no need to go to this. CHEANG, as I said. Okay, you want I show you very quickly the competencies. That's on the last slide, which is this one. Okay, these are the 5 categories of competencies that we're looking for. Right? Knowledge and understanding, this is about your basic. Right? This is about how you apply your basic knowledge into your engineering. And that's why I say these 3 are about management, leadership, communication, interpersonal skills, and this is ethics. Alright, under each of these there are subcategories. Altogether there are 18 elements, 18, classified into these 5 categories.
They will be evaluating during the interview.
Yes, the interviewer has the form where he will actually give marks, rubric based on this competence. So it's no more subjective. Last time was a bit subjective lah. The interviewer ting. Dia ni handsome sikit. Now tak boleh. Now they have to look at this. You know, this one how many marks, you know. So, and they must go by all this, so must evaluate all 5. And as I said, within each 5 there are subheadings, so he has to give marks. So of course certain things you may not do so well, doesn't matter. The overall may be okay, you know, because you don't expect perfect lah. Everybody perfect in everything, is it? Of course, cannot fail 100% lah in like professional community cannot say totally unethical. I say, alamak, cannot pass lah. Little bit shortcoming, okay, because you make it up. You make it up. Yeah, I got one guy that I failed before, but he is not in the IEM lah. We were asking him, you know, this is on safety and health, you know. Oh, his talking is very involved. I can tell he's working in a manufacturing. Then we asked him, at the end already, you know, thought maybe he can pass him. Then asked him, how do you treat safety and health in your company? Oh, his answer terrible lah. I'm so busy, I got no time for safety and health. My partner also were a little bit surprised because it's a very important issue. So we went and asked a few more questions. Then we come back, you don't do anything on safety and health, but no safety and health. That one not important. I got no time for that. So I got no choice that we fail him.
Was he IEM graduate? No.
He's I think no, we double checked and actually he was a bit rough He is very. That's why we said in terms of professionalism, that's what we look for. It's not just technical skills. We always look for whether you got a sense of responsibility, whether you're aware of the other things like safety and health, like environmental. Those things count in professionalism. That's what we like. We believe a professional engineer should be aware of, and to actually practice that. So it's not just that's why you can see the competencies. All right, out of the 5 main categories, only 2 are technical, 3 are not technical. 3 are not technical. Because as I said, we know that you are graduates from recognized universities. We no doubt that you have already technical knowledge. But what we want to see how you apply the technical knowledge, and the rest is how you actually work. And work, I think we all know it's not just technical. It's about management, it's about teamwork, it's about ethics, it's about so many other things. That's what we want to evaluate on. Yeah. So I think like these are some of the rubrics 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I don't think you need to go into that. It's just rubrics. These are the subcategories. Again, when you reach PI, then you can go into details. Anyway, if you want this, eventually we can also send another speaker. If you're all ready for PI, we got professional interview speakers expert. They will go you all the details about how to apply, what forms to use, and they will guide you through. In fact, Sarita also can do that. But I think you are not ready, no point. I will tell you so you forget. So with that, I would like to conclude, but I'm really having this desire to tell you a little bit about IEM. You know why? Because I think most of you don't know what is IEM. Shall I play the video or shall I? I think I play the video. That makes life a bit easier. To end this talk, if you just bear with me just for a few minutes, I will play you.
The Institution of Engineers Malaysia, or IEM, is the premier professional organization committed to excellence in engineering. Founded in 1959, IEM promotes and advances the science and profession of engineering in all its disciplines. Our members have been instrumental in the growth of Malaysia, having contributed to the sustainable socio-economic development across the country. IEM is one of the largest professional bodies in Malaysia. Membership is growing rapidly each year. The membership of IEM consists of 2 classes, namely corporate members and non-corporate members. The institution accepts only the highest standards in admitting corporate members into the institution. Applicants have to go through structured interviews and acceptance is based on experience and credentials. IEM only accepts qualifications from institutions recognized by the Engineering Accreditation Council of Malaysia, EAC. IEM has signed MOUs and agreements of cooperation with local and foreign institutions, universities, local councils to cement closer inter-institution cooperation. Since 1997, the institution has become the hub of engineering cooperation in the region. IEM holds the Secretariat of the ASEAN Engineering Register, AER, and processes applications from IEM members for the APEC or International Professional Engineering Registers. The institution shares its views pertaining engineering matters and policies with various government ministries and agencies, relevant stakeholders, as well as the general public. IEM issues position papers on engineering matters that are of concern to the profession and the community. IEM has various technical divisions and special interest groups to cover the whole spectrum of engineering disciplines. The Young Engineer Section, YES, caters for activities for graduate and student members. The IEM Women Engineer Session celebrates the contribution of women in engineering, science and technology. IEM has a solid network across Malaysia. In addition to its headquarters that caters to its members in the Klang Valley, IEM has 12 other branches nationwide. To service the needs and interests of its members, the institution conducts regular technical conferences, seminar, workshops, and technical visits to uphold the quality of engineering. The IEM Awards are created to confer recognition to an individual, organization, or body for an engineering achievement in Malaysia. The institution offers the IEM Scholarship to deserving Malaysian engineering students to further their studies at local universities. IEM publishes biannual journals and monthly bulletins named the Jurutera for circulation to its members. The world is changing at an accelerating rate, and so is engineering. IEM will ensure that Malaysia's engineering capabilities will give it the edge to be the significant player not only in the ASEAN